Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
Yeah.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope everybody is doing great today. I had a wonderful day yesterday. My brother and family decided to put together basically an impromptu gaming get together for lunch and stuff like that. And we ended up playing tons of board games. I was over there all day, played a bunch of games with an extended family, and had the opportunity to play a couple of things that I hadn't gotten to in a while. And we were going to have, I actually thought we were going to have 10 people over there yesterday. But as it turns out, 2 people were out of town. 2 spouses were out of town, including Brennan, who it was the director of photography on the Cultists. Brennan was out of town. Found out that's because he is in Maine. I'm down here in Alabama, so we all are. So he was actually up in Maine because he has a job working on a feature film and is going to be in Maine. It was like in Maine for 3 weeks or something like that. So ended up having 8 people, but 8 people was enough to play some party games. So I was still glad that I had some games out for the number for a larger number of people. Captain Sonar is one that we're going to talk about today that I had wanted to try for a long time. And because we had 8 people, it's 2 to 8 people. And this worked. We had a lot of fun playing this game. So we had all 8 people. Then we played One Night Werewolf. And we had the boys with us. We had 6 and 10, 6, 10, and 13 years old. And we were actually the 6 and 10 years old. Seth, my brother, was like, now, are the boys going to be able to play this? This looks complicated. But actually, there was a role. The 6 and 10-year-olds were able to play this. It says 14 plus, but they were able to play just fine and enjoyed that along with us. And then we all played One Night Werewolf, and the boys were able to do that as well. They jumped right in. They were quite good at that. Then after that, we played 3 games of Captain Sonar. We played 3 games of One Night Werewolf. After that, we sat and talked for a while. Then I stayed and had dinner with them. And then after dinner, I played Unearth. I enjoy Unearth. I don't think we've ever looked at Unearth on this show before. But Unearth, I really enjoyed. So we played Unearth with the boys. That was just tons of board gaming. Then I went, and my brother wanted to introduce me to the show Yellowstone. Has anybody been watching the show Yellowstone? We watched the first episode of Yellowstone. He really wanted me to see it, so I sat and watched it with him. I know I'm pulling together topics for Table Talk, and I noticed that my brother had been telling me like 2 weeks ago that Yellowstone is a really great show. Then we were starting to pull together topics for Table Talk, and I noticed that Doug had put Yellowstone on the TV show list. And I did enjoy it. I'll have to watch some more of it. But anyway, that's what happened to me yesterday. Let's see what's going on with all of you. Good morning. We got James here and Zero the Blade. Captain Sonar. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange, it probably needs a better name, Captain Sonar. But it works. Synchronize, organize, navigate, attack, and repair. And this could actually be rethemed. This would be really easy to retheme Star Trek. Totally retheme this Star Trek. Good morning, Stray. As James says, I've seen it reviewed. Dice Tower, maybe. They seem to enjoy it, if I recall. It was a while back ago. Let's see. Have not seen it, but Candace mentioned it last night. So maybe it's getting a lot of word of mouth. I think talking about Yellowstone here. So let's go ahead and do breathe and sip. I've got my iced coffee blend this morning. So let's go ahead and breathe and sip. 2 deep breaths, exhales, and then let's sip. So here we go. And sip. And of course, tonight I got to get organized. I was planning on doing a bit more organization for dinner and a board game tonight. We'll be doing Hero Quest tonight, dinner and a board game live, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time tonight. I'm really looking forward to this new experimental pilot, doing this in this way. I was planning on getting a few things ready for it yesterday, but ended up having all the gaming yesterday. So this afternoon, as soon as I get off the stream here, I'm going to make sure that we are completely ready and go for dinner and a board game, Hero Quest, with Retro Nerd Girl and Doug Burton tonight. And thank you. Yes, and there is the Discord server. So, all right, let's take a look at what is inside Captain Sonar. This game is synchronous play. Well, there's the option. There's 2 different options. There's one option for turn-based play and one option for synchronous play. We played synchronous play, and that was a lot of fun. So everybody's playing all at the same time. There are no turns. You just play. So Captain Sonar, it is the year 2048. You are part of an elite team of officers in command of a state-of-the-art submarine. The hunt has begun. Your mission is simple. Seek and destroy the enemy submarine. You beat the enemy, you must cooperate. To beat the enemy, you must cooperate with your teammates. Only the team who best communicates and works together will survive the encounter. So this is what it looks like. It comes with these 2 big, long-looking GM screens to separate the crew of one submarine from the crew of the other submarine. And then everybody has the thing that they are supposed to be doing on the submarine, and they're trying to track down and destroy the enemy submarine. Your keys to success: synchronize. Alone, you will achieve nothing. Each officer on the team fills an essential role. Talking is important, but so is listening carefully and coordinating your actions. Organize. If you do not plan your moves, you will not catch the enemy. Each decision must be deliberate. Navigate. You must not only find the enemy submarine, you must also not get caught yourself. Only precise navigation will put you in a position to win the battle. Attack. Take no man alive. Even though this mission requires stealth, do not hesitate to fire your weapons when the perfect opportunity presents itself. Repair. Your sub will take fire and will most likely sustain damage. You must try to remain calm and get your sub back up and running quickly. Oh, damage the box or something there. Okay. So let's see what's inside. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Underwater, no one can hear you scream. Very alien and probably false, but with caveats. I know one of my nephews said, "Wait a minute, that's not true. You can scream underwater." All right, so it comes. We got these two sheets right here. I'll show you what they're for here in a moment. But two plastic sheets that are see-through. We got the instructions right here. We'll take a look at them. These things right here. So these are the two gigantic GM screen style. They're nice thick cardboard. They're not flimsy. They're like board game board thickness. So it's not like some thin card. Yeah, you can't really see. But it's not like some thin card GM screen. They are heavy duty, and so they stand up. They're not going to fall over in the middle of the game and stuff like that. And there's plenty to cover across an entire table. So those are in here. I'll set them over here. We've got these. These are our control boards right here. So everybody's going to need a different control board depending on the position they're operating in. And then it also comes with a bunch of markers, erasable markers, eraser markers right there. Because everybody's going to need to write stuff down. In here, we've got several different maps. Like this is Echo map. Everybody's going to be playing. You choose what type of map or scenario you're going to be playing. Echo map. And I noticed, so each side also has a real-time side and then also a turn-by-turn side, depending on how you're playing. So we were playing on the real-time side. And I haven't played on the turn-by-turn side, but we played real-time and had a lot of fun. So several different maps for you to play on. There are four copies of each map because two players on each team have to have the same map. The captain and the radio operator have to have the same map. Charlie map, that's real open. Okay, and then you get into the ship's controls. Like this is the control the engineer is going to have. This right here is the engineer, the first mate's function ship and his control. The first mate's control panel. The first mate, I'll show you what they do. There's another map, alpha map. Trying to get things organized here. Alpha. Another first mate, because we got two different submarines right here, and then also another engineer control panel right here for the other submarine. So that is what is inside Captain Sonar. Okay. It says, game overview. In Captain Sonar, two teams operate opposing submarines battling for control of the ocean's depth. Let me try to bring this down a little bit. There we go. Captain Sonar, two teams operate opposing submarines battling for control of the ocean's depths. Each teammate has its own station and responsibilities on board the vessel. The players will have to coordinate effectively to survive. Okay, winning. The first team whose submarine suffers 4 damage loses the game. The surviving team wins. Some advanced scenarios contain additional objectives or replacement objectives that the team must complete in order to win the game. We just played Hunter-Killer. Game setup. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you're set up to play. Place the screens end to end across the table. Choose a scenario. Each team has a captain, a radio operator that takes the corresponding sheet. Okay, it says when playing in real time, players use the dark side of the sheet. In turn-by-turn mode, players use the light side. Okay, we may have been a little bit confused by that because there is a dark side and a light side. We were making sure that we were playing on the same side. That's important because, like, the number of turns it takes to charge your torpedoes or whatever will be different. Good morning, Robert. Each team sits on a different side of the central screen. Players sitting in the order shown in the diagram. Oh, it says we had to sit in that order shown. Radio operator, captain, first mate, engineer. Oh, we didn't pick up on that. I think we just sat down in whatever order the first time, but then we started to play around with what order you were sitting in, because it does seem like I think we did clue in on the fact the captain needs to be sitting next to the radio operator and the first mate. Actually, some down by the engineer, but the captain needs to be coordinating with the radio operator and the first mate in order to control the ship. It's difficult the first time that the captain has the radio operator far away from them. The captain needs to be looking at what the radio operator is drawing, because the radio operator is the one who is trying to find the enemy ship. The captain is navigating. The first mate and the engineer take corresponding sheet. Each radio operator takes a transparent sheet. So the radio operator needs this transparent sheet. So that's what this is for. The radio operator is going to be drawing on this transparent sheet, and the radio operator also has a map of the area. And so the radio operator is going to be trying to draw the movement of the enemy vessel and use that to try to locate the enemy vessel on the map. James said, I think one of the Dice Tower's main criticisms was that if you really want to play the whole game, you need 8 players, and that can be prohibitive to some. Not that you can't play with just 2 people, but it's not close to the whole experience. I have no idea how you'd play with 2 people. It says that in order to play with less people, like over here, team setup, with teams of 3, 1 player plays both the captain and the first mate role. Teams of 2, 1 player plays the captain, first mate, and engineer roles. That seems to me to be close to impossible. So yes, it does need all 8 people, I think, to play well. So it's a party game, or it's something to take to a convention or play at a convention. Okay, so what is the captain doing? But if you find it at a convention or something like that, you should definitely try to play, because it was a lot of fun. Okay, so the captain. The captain is the leader of the team, responsible for guiding the submarine and coordinating the team members. At the beginning of the game, the captain draws an X on the sea space of his choice to determine the starting position of the submarine. So the captain, so here's our Charlie map right here. The captain chooses where they're going to begin and indicates that on the map secretly. So the other side obviously doesn't know where the enemy submarine is. This is not shown to the enemy team. Both captains shout dive to signal the start of the game. Each captain announces the course of the submarine and draws the route on the map on his sheet. In turn-by-turn mode, randomly determine the team who takes the first turn. Okay, announcing the course. So if in simultaneous mode, certain team that's operating more efficiently will actually get to move faster. So if you're worried about like initiative, taking care of initiative in a game, well, how do we take care of initiative in this? We take care of initiative by just saying if you're a more efficient team, you're going to be able to move faster and be able to accomplish more stuff, and actually going to be able to get inside the OODA loop. I was thinking about that yesterday. The OODA loop that they use for jet fighters and other things now. It was originally developed for fighter jets. Talking about how fast can your observe, orient, decide, action. Your team can actually be moving faster Your team can actually be moving faster than others. Real-time mode. Each captain announces the course. The captain can move his submarine one space at a time in one of 4 directions: north, south, east, or west. He must announce his course loudly and say that so that all players can hear it. The announcement should be phrased: head north, south, east, or west. Each captain announces his course at the pace of his choice. Important. The captain must wait for the first mate and engineer to perform their tasks. So the captain can't just move, because after every move, the first mate and the engineer have to perform their tasks and announce okay before announcing a new course. The first mate and the engineer. See that on page 3. The submarine cannot cross or move along its own previous route. That's important. It cannot move into a space where a line has already been drawn. A submarine cannot move across an island or into a space with its own mine. So you've got islands on the map as well. You cannot move into an island or a space where it lays a landmine. The captain can erase his route only by surfacing. So, for example, the captain will say, head north, first mate, okay, engineer, okay, once they've performed their duties. Then the captain can issue a new order, head west, okay, okay. If the captain cannot announce a course due to islands, mines, or the submarine's route, he must immediately surface the vessel. Advice: the captain should regularly check with his radio operator to get an estimate of the enemy's position. The captain should not announce his courses too quickly so that his teammates have time to react and perform their checks. The radio operator. The radio operator is the eyes and ears of the team. He is responsible for tracking the enemy submarine by listening to the enemy captain's announcements. Each time the enemy captain announces a course, the radio operator draws on a transparent sheet, beginning anywhere, since he does not know the enemy's starting location. By sliding, that's why the sheet's important, because the radio operator has to be listening for the commands of the enemy captain. And so when the radio operator is hearing the enemy captain give an order, the radio operator has got to be tracing it over here on this transparent sheet. And then by moving that along, they're going to come up with a plot of where the ship is moving, and then is going to be moving this along based on where the islands are and things like that, where that enemy ship could possibly be, and inform the captain so that you can fire torpedoes and destroy it. By sliding the transparent sheet along the map, the radio operator will be able to estimate the enemy submarine's position, bearing in mind the enemy cannot cross islands or its own route. That becomes important. The more the radio operator is able to listen to the enemy captain, the more easily he will be able to determine the enemy's route and position. He will need to regularly update his captain with information on the possible location of the enemy. The radio operator will be able to narrow the enemy's position down further with the help of drones and sonar, which will be activated by the captain or the first mate. And that's true. The first mate, next time we play, we didn't have the first mate operating the... It can be activated by the captain or the first mate. Next time, the younger kids, now they've got the first mate's position down otherwise, I think next time we'll incorporate activating the first mate's ability to activate drones and sonar. So, for instance, the radio operator knows the route he has drawn is not possible since it crosses an island. He will need to continue sliding his transparent sheet until he finds a possible position for the enemy submarine. Advice: to avoid drawing outside the transparent sheet, try to start in the middle of the sheet at the beginning of the game. If the route goes outside the transparent sheet, or if you become lost, erase everything and start over. The OODA loop, let me make sure that I was right on that. The OODA loop stands for, I said action, it says act here, but that's it. The OODA loop is observe, orient, decide, and act. It's a 4-step approach to decision-making that focuses on filtering available information, putting it in context, and quickly making the most appropriate decision while also understanding that changes can be made as more data becomes available. So this was a cycle that was developed by military strategists, and United States Air Force Colonel John Boyd. And so basically that's what happens. You're going to observe something. You're going to orient yourself toward those observations. you're going to decide on a course of action, and then you're going to execute that course of action. So and then you're going to observe what the result of that action is. So that's why it's a loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. Observe, orient, decide, act. And it was originally applied in the context of fighter plane dogfights. And that if you can move through that loop faster than your enemy can, you are inside your enemy's OODA loop and will be victorious because you can observe, orient, decide, and act. And if you can do that while your enemy is still observing, then you're able to act and you're able to move much faster than they are. Because then when you act, you're going to give them something else they have to go back and observe again. What are they observing? And while they're then oriented, maybe they're taking a long time to decide. But if you can move through that loop, you are ahead in the action environment. Although it's become applied to a lot of different things. Yeah, and that becomes important. You cannot cross your own routes. This is double-blind centipede. That becomes important so that you're, well, for a couple of reasons. The way the engineer operates, you can't just, the captain isn't free to order the directions any way that he wants. He's limited by the islands. He's limited by not being able to cross his own route. He's limited by not being able to cross one of the mines that he's laid down. And then also, if he gives the same order multiple times, he runs the risk of damaging the ship, according to the engineer station. We'll talk about the engineer in just a second. So the first mate here, the first mate's job is to advance the gauges and bring the submarine's systems online. He alerts the captain when the weapon detection and specialist systems are ready to activate. So, managing the gauges. So this right here, radio operator. Wait, where's over here? Excuse me. So here is the first mate. The first mate is tracking. This is damage over here to the whole ship, and you never get to repair that, as my understanding. You're never going to repair the damage. Once you take 4 damage, you are sunk. But you also have mines, torpedoes, drones, sonar, the ability to move silently, which we didn't use all that much. And then also, if you have a scenario-specific weapon or task or something like that, you've got it over here. So every time the captain gives an order, the first mate can activate one or can check one of the gauges on one of these systems. And once all of the gauges are checked, that system is enabled, and he informs the captain that drones are ready, or sonar is ready, or mines are ready, or torpedoes are ready, or whatever it is. The youngest nephew said, "I like shooting guns." He was always, "Torpedoes ready, Captain. Mines are ready, Captain." They got really into it. Robert says, "Is this game specific to any particular war or area of era of naval combat?" The back of the box says it is 2048. So it's supposed to be something futuristic. So it says that it's the year 2048. So no, it's just made up. Although you could totally retheme this game to Star Trek. You could totally retheme this game to Star Trek. It reminded me a lot of Star Trek as we were playing. So managing gauges. Each time the captain announces a course, the first mate marks an empty space on the gauge of his choice. When all spaces on the gauge are marked, the first mate announces it loudly and clearly. For example, an announcement of mine ready lets the captain know that he can drop a mine when he needs it. When all spaces on the gauge are full, the system must be activated before his spaces can be marked again. So once, if you fill up torpedo here and then activate torpedo, the first mate then erases all of the gauge marks on the torpedo in order to start charging another torpedo again. Same with sonar. So once it gets used, you erase it so that you can start activating it again. Only the captain can activate mines, torpedoes, silence, and scenario systems. The drone and sonar systems can be activated by both the captain and first mate. Example, 2 of the first mate systems are ready, a mine and a torpedo, which he just finished loading by marking the last space on the gauge. Torpedo ready, he says. Damage. At the top of the first mate sheet are 4 damage spaces representing the 4 damage a submarine can sustain. The first mate crosses out the leftmost empty space. If all 4 spaces are crossed out, the submarine is destroyed and the team loses the game. Important, if you play with fewer than 8 players, the captain may have to be the first mate as well. That's not going to be easy. The engineer. Okay, here's the engineer sheet. We've got a specification of the submarine, which is going to be important over here. And then also your systems, which are going to break down a lot as you move. The engineer, they're all important roles. But the engineer has a lot of thinking to do. The engineer's job is to track the breakdowns that occur on the submarine as the captain announces courses. Some breakdowns will neutralize the submarine systems. Others will damage the submarine. Every time the captain announces a course, the engineer crosses out a symbol corresponding to the announced course, north, south, east, or west, signifying a breakdown. He can cross out any symbol in the central circuits or the reactor, so long as it is in the control panel. Let me show you what that means. So you've got, in addition to up here, we'll talk about that later, you've got west, north, south, and east. This up here are your central circuits. This down here is your central reactor. Okay, so every time the captain calls out a direction, for instance, west, the engineer has to X out something on this west side over here. And if it's X'd out, it's a breakdown. I think I confused myself and some other people earlier by saying something getting damaged. But damage is technically only what the first mate handles. Damage to the ship up here, this is damage. They call this over here breakdowns. So if you go west and the engineer X's out this right here, that's the symbol for torpedoes and mines. Your weapon systems are offline until you can get that breakdown repaired. This right here is the symbol for sonar and drones. This right here is the symbol for moving silently, silent running, and also system scenario-specific systems. And then this right here is radiation damage. So I'll tell you about radiation in just a second. But that, so for instance, in order to fire a torpedo, not only does the first mate have to have the torpedoes armed by his gauge, but also the engineer has to be sure that all of the torpedo systems are clear. And so in order to launch one, you have to verify with both the first mate and the engineer that you're operational. Likewise, to shoot a drone, to use a drone or a sonar, well, not only does that have to be readied on the first mate's system gauges, but you can't have any sonar X'd out for breakdown on board the vessel. So, for example, the captain announces head north. The engineer must cross out a symbol of his choice in the north control panel. Here, it must be either one of the 2 symbols in the central circuits or 3 in the main reactor. In this example, he's already crossed out the torpedoes north. So we've got silent running or things down here in the central reactor. Head north. That's a limit to the number of times the captain can say head north, head north, head north. Because every time he's got to X out one of these, and if everything in a zone is X'd out, the submarine takes damage. So system breakdown. If at least one symbol corresponding to a system is crossed out, that system cannot be activated. Mine and torpedo, drone, sonar, and silence and scenario. Before activating a system, the first mate must verify with the engineer that there are no breakdowns on that system. No system can be activated. Here, no system can be activated since at least one symbol corresponding to each system is crossed out. If the captain wants to use a mine or a torpedo, he must first ask the engineer to fix the 2 breakdowns on the red symbols. So this is also, I guess, how people are sitting, because it says the first mate must verify with the engineer. So if the captain says, fire a torpedo, the first mate would say torpedoes ready because he's activated torpedoes. Fire a torpedo. First mate checks with the engineer to be sure that the systems are online. That's a good way to go. That I don't think we were necessarily that structured. We need to be, though. I'm glad I'm going back over the rules after we've played to see it. Now, radiation damage. What is radiation damage? So we got that radiation symbol here. So it says radiation breakdowns. Radiation breakdowns have no effect unless all radiation symbols are crossed out or they contribute to a complete area breakdown. See complete area breakdown below. When all radiation symbols are crossed out, the submarine suffers 1 damage. The engineer announces damage and then erases all breakdowns from the submarine. So radiation you can cross out and it doesn't have an effect on any ship system. So that's nice for that reason. But once you X out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 radiation symbols, the ship takes damage. So the engineer shouts damage. The first mate has to X one of the ship's damages, but then every breakdown of the ship gets to be erased. So you sacrifice damage for breakdown. The last radiation symbol has just been crossed out. The engineer announces it by shouting damage. The first mate crosses out 1 damage on his sheet, and then the engineer erases all breakdowns from the submarine. So then you get all your systems back. Or complete area breakdown. When all symbols in a single control panel have been crossed out, and both the central circuits and the reactor, the submarine suffers 1 damage. The engineer announces damage, and then erases all breakdown from the submarine. So the captain is given too many orders to head west, and all symbols on the west control panel are now crossed out. The engineer announces it by shouting damage. The first mate crosses out 1 damage space on his sheet when the engineer erases all breakdowns from the submarine. Then the engineer erases all breakdowns from the submarine. So if you go west too many times, X those out, but then once they're all X'd out, again, the ship takes damage, but then all breakdowns are repaired. Advice: to prevent disaster due to breakdowns, the engineer should inform the captain when specific courses could be dangerous to the submarine. James says, this seems like it would be extremely fun in a large group. It was. So like I say, if you have a large group, like we do, like with we had that problem with Hero Quest, that we had to add characters to Hero Quest because the entire extended family would get together to play board games, which now could be as many as 10 people in my family. So we're going to play Secret Hitler. When we got 10, we're going to play Secret Hitler. But if you have an opportunity to play this and you've got the group sitting here, definitely try it. It was a lot of fun. And some of it, I mean, it was intense. It was intense because it's played in real time. It's simultaneous. You're acting all the time. Especially the captain. You got a lot of responsibility. And in fact, I would like to see it be played. We might be able to find this on you. I'm sure you'd be able to find it on YouTube. You can find everything on YouTube, it seems like. But I wonder if there are like competitive teams who play this. Probably are, like ship crews that really work together really well and know exactly what they're doing and really how to operate together. They might be really good. Sable says the systems on this futuristic craft seem pretty fragile. Well, we're about to talk about repairing. They kind of felt that way to me too when I was reading through, but you can repair them. And if the engineer knows what he's doing and can coordinate with the captain, he can keep his ship running. Go west, young man, unless your torpedoes are broken down. So repairing, self-repair in the central circuits. So this is the central circuits up here and above the central circuits. This is the core. So you'll notice here, the self-repairing in the central circuits. Symbols in the central circuits are linked in groups by an orange, yellow, or gray line called a circuit. When all 4 symbols on a circuit are crossed out, they repair themselves. The engineer erases those breakdowns. So if you go north, the engineer can cross out north, and then north, and then north, and cross out those. And then if you go east, east. So the engineer crosses out that one, but that completes this circuit right here. And so all of these are erased. So the ship just erased all of its breakdowns. So if the captain and the engineer, if the engineer is telling the captain, be careful, don't go in a certain direction because we're running out of spaces, or, hey, go east, and then I can repair critical functions of the ship and get something set up reestablish one of the systems, that's a great way to go. If they can coordinate. So there's an orange circuit here, there's a gray circuit here, and then a blue circuit here. But you'll notice that down here, these cannot be repaired due to the self-repair circuitry. So if you mark off something down here in the core, you're not going to be able to get it, you're not going to be able to repair it using the self-repair circuitry. The only way that you're going to be able to repair these breakdowns is if you surface. So you notice that as well about the radiation. So the radiation doesn't hurt a system, but there's no way to repair the radiation breakdowns without surfacing your craft because it's not on a self-healing circuit. 3 symbols have been crossed out on the yellow circuit right here. The yellow circuit 1, 2, 3 right here in the west control panel. If the engineer can convince the captain to head east, the yellow circuit can be completed and will self-repair. Breakdowns in the central circuit can also be repaired by surfacing. Repairing the reactor. Breakdowns in the reactor down here can only be repaired in 2 ways. When all radiation symbols have been crossed out, the submarine suffers 1 damage. The engineer announces damage and then erases all breakdowns from the submarine. Wait a minute. Let me make sure over here. Radiation complete area. Repairing the reactor. When all radiation symbols have been crossed out, the submarine suffers 1 damage. The engineer announces damage and then erases all breakdowns in the submarine. The best way to repair the reactor is by resurfacing. See page 5. Here, there are numerous breakdowns in the reactor. No system can be activated, and 4 of the 6 radiation symbols are crossed out. The submarine should surface urgently for repair. Surfacing. So surfacing is an efficient way to repair the submarine and the only way to reset the route. So surfacing allows the captain to reset the route. Doing so will leave the submarine vulnerable for a short time because you can't move. So as soon as you surface, you can't move. And so the other submarine who is still mobile, if they can act fast, when the other side is surfaced, is a great time to go and find them and hit them with torpedoes. Surfacing is an efficient way to repair the submarine and the only way to reset the route. Doing so will leave the submarine vulnerable for a short time, so surfacing should be undertaken with the utmost caution. To surface, the captain raises his fist and announces, "Surface!" Then the captain announces the submarine's current sector to the enemy team. So you've got on your map here, wherever one of my maps is, so we've got these sectors right here. Sector 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So when you surface, the enemy captain has to announce to the enemy side what sector they're in. And you're moving from dot to dot to dot to dot. So you tell the enemy what sector you're in. So surface, sector 6. That tells the enemy captain and enemy radio operator that they are someplace in sector 6. So they can go hunt them down. The rules for surfacing vary depending on where the game is being played turn by turn or in real combat or in real-time mode. Let's play in real time. As soon as the submarine sector is announced, repairs can begin. The engineer begins securing the ship. So this is what this part right here. You've got to secure the ship with this area up here. The engineer begins securing the ship by drawing a line around one of the 4 sections of the submarine on his sheet, making sure to stay within the white outline. He then writes his initials in that section. So you've got to draw around one section of the ship, staying within the white outline. You cannot touch the outside and you cannot touch the inside. And then you initial that section, the engineer does. He then passes the sheet to a teammate who does the same thing with another section of the submarine and continues passing it on until all sections are secured, including all teammates' initials. If there are fewer than 4 players on a team, some players will need to secure multiple sections. So, for example, the engineer, Roberto Fraga, has begun securing the submarine. He has drawn a line around one of the 4 sections of the submarine and has written his initials. Each teammate will have to take the sheet and do the same. The engineer takes the sheet and shows it to... So once that's done, once you've circled all of them, the engineer takes the sheet and shows it to the enemy engineer to confirm that no lines were drawn outside the white outline. If this is not the case, the team must start over. If the enemy engineer confirms that all lines are drawn correctly, the engineer erases all lines around the submarine section, all initials, and all breakdowns from the submarine. So you get all breakdowns, including your core system, back when this is complete. So this is the only way to repair, other than the self-repairing circuits, the only way to repair, especially the core systems, without taking damage. Because if you take damage, then you get your systems back. But this is the only way to do that without taking damage. When this is complete, the engineer announces ready to dive, and the captain announces dive, and then play resumes as normal. This is a really interesting part because the radio operator, even while we notice that while your ship is surfaced, the enemy radio operator is still listening to the enemy ship's commands, trying to figure out where they are because they are coming after them. But the radio operator is one person who has to secure part of the ship. So that means the radio operator, this sheet often stopped at the radio operator, and the radio operator was still trying to listen to commands from the other side to make sure the radio operator was tracking the enemy vessel, and then had to stop that in order to draw around their part of their ship and initial it, and they would lose track of the enemy vessel. So that's a big negative, that you are also losing track of your enemy vessel while you are securing the ship. Or you got to wait for the enemy to be doing something that's taking them a little while, so the radio operator can stop and secure their part of the ship, and the repairs of the ship take a while. Really interesting design here. So important. While a team is surfaced and repairing, the enemy team continues playing. Teammates on a submarine can use their marker pins only to secure the submarine. In the meantime, the captain resets his route by erasing the route on his sheet, keeping only the submarine's current position and the positions of his mines. So the captain erases his old route in red, keeping his position and the positions of his mines. Advice. Once again, communication is a key to success. The engineer must inform the captain of breakdowns. The captain will be able to decide to surface when he thinks it is safe and that he is far from the enemy, though only the radio operator can guarantee that. This will allow for uninterrupted repairs and preparation for a new route. Surfacing when an enemy is nearby is risky and can leave a submarine vulnerable to a killing blow. Surfacing can also be used to cleverly lure the enemy into a minefield, which can be activated as soon as the submarine is back underwater. See, dropping a mine on 6. So, activating systems here. When all spaces on a gauge are marked, the first mate announces it to the captain. The captain can then activate that system at any time. The first mate can activate only the drone and sonar systems, while the captain can activate any system. To activate a system, the captain or first mate does the following. Confirm with the engineer there are no breakdowns affecting the system. If there are, they must be repaired before the system can be activated. Reminder, a system can be activated only if no symbols corresponding to the system have been crossed out. In real-time mode, announce stop and raise a fist. All other players stop what they are doing and listening. In turn-by-turn mode, the captain or first mate can activate a system after each of the team's announcements. Announce a system to activate. For instance, I'm dropping a mine. Resolve the system activation and then resume play as normal. A team cannot activate 2 systems in a row. Oh, got to remember that. The captain, we might have activated 2 systems in a row on times. The captain must announce a course between 2 players' activation. That's important. Launching a torpedo. The captain can launch a torpedo at a space 1 to 4 spaces away, but not diagonally. Oh, look, and this even, see, I'm glad I'm doing this because it helps to read the rules, play, and then make sure you read the rules and play again. I think we were just announcing straight, but look at this. So the torpedoes don't have to just move straight. The captain can launch a torpedo at any space 1 to 4 spaces away from his submarine, but not diagonally. The captain announces the point of impact. That helps you get around islands and things like that. That's good. The captain announces the point of impact. For example, torpedo launch, impact in C6, but does not draw the trajectory on a sheet. Then the first mate erases all marks on the torpedo gauge. The torpedo impact is the same outcome as a triggered mine. We're going to look at that in a moment. And then play resumes as normal. If the torpedo impacts in a space with a mine, the mine is destroyed. The captain erases that mine from his sheet. Important, a torpedo can damage the submarine that launches it. So the captain in D3 launches a torpedo, which travels 4 spaces and impacts G2. The enemy submarine located in G2 takes a direct hit and suffers 2 damage. So with dropping a mine, the captain draws an M for mine on a space adjacent to his submarine. The captain cannot drop a mine in the space on his route with the line drawn in it, and the submarine cannot move into a space with its own mine. The captain announces mine dropped, and the first mate erases all marks on the mine gauge. The play resumes as normal. The mine has no immediate effect. But triggering a mine. A captain can trigger a mine he previously dropped to damage nearby submarines. At any time, except while surfaced, the captain can trigger a mine by raising a fist, announcing triggering a mine, and then stating the mine's location. For instance, triggering a mine at G7. Important, the captain can trigger a mine whether or not any spaces on the mine gauge are marked, and the first mate does not erase the marks when the mine is triggered. The mine gauge matters only when dropping a mine, not triggering one. There are 3 possible outcomes of a triggered mine or torpedo impact. So this is the torpedo impact. You can see here mines and torpedoes have a direct hit, primary explosion area, and then also secondary explosion areas around the side here, including diagonally. So the explosions do happen diagonally. If the enemy submarine is more than 1 space away from the mine or torpedo impact, the captain announces all clear and play resumes as normal. So if you're outside of that detonation zone, all clear. The enemy submarine is located in a space adjacent to the mine enemy impact. The enemy announces indirect hit, 1 damage. His first mate crosses out the leftmost empty space on his sheet and play resumes as normal. If the enemy submarine is located on the same space as a mine or torpedo impact, the captain announces direct hit, 2 damage. His first mate crosses out the 2 leftmost empty spaces on his sheet and then play resumes as normal. And important, a mine can damage the submarine that dropped it. So the captain might have to do that. If you drop a mine and you need to detonate it before your ship can get away, you might need to do that in order to you might have to accept damage in order to damage an enemy ship if you think they're going to get away. Launching a drone. Drones allow a team to narrow down the sectors of enemy submarines in which an enemy submarine could be located. The map is divided into 9 sectors in real-time mode. The teammate asks the enemy captain if the enemy submarine is located on a particular sector. For instance, launching a drone, are you in sector 5? The captain must answer truthfully yes or no. The first mate erases all marks on the drone gauge and then play resumes as normal. We found this one to be pretty useful. So the drone goes up, and then you inquire, and the other team must answer truthfully if they are in a particular zone. The captain launches a drone and asks if the enemy submarine is located in Sector 4. The submarine is in Sector 7, so the captain answers no. Sonar, I didn't really come up with the great use for this, or like how to use it. That's why I got to play again. Because with the sonar, I guess maybe the radio operator, I never played the radio operator. The radio operator could get more use out of this. Because when the teammate activates a sonar, he announces activating sonar. The enemy captain announces 2 pieces of information with his submarine's location. This can include the row, column, or sector in which the submarine is located. 1 piece of information must be true. The other must be false. Each piece of information must be of a different type, row, column, or sector. Then the first mate erases all marks on the sonar gauge and play resumes as normal. So, for instance, the captain activates sonar. Unknown to him, the enemy submarine is in L14 in Sector 9. The enemy captain announces we are in row L, Sector 6. The first piece of information is true. The second is false. So you get that information, and I suppose the radio operator will be all right. So one of that was true, one of that was false. Shifting around the path to find that out. So maybe that helps to find out where they potentially are. Activating silence. When a captain activates silence, he announces activating silence and moves his submarine without announcing the route. He can move the submarine up to 4 spaces in a straight line without crossing an island or his own route. The captain indicates to his teams that's up to 4. Doesn't have to move 4, but up to 4 spaces. The captain indicates to his team the direction they are moving by gesturing with his hand behind the screen. The first mate marks an empty space on the gauge of his choice, and the engineer crosses out a system on the sheet corresponding to the indicated direction. If the captain moves a submarine 0 spaces, he indicates this to his team by making a fist behind the screen, in which case the first mate and engineer do not mark or cross out anything. The first mate erases all marks on the silence gauge, and play resumes as normal. There are also scenario gauges. When one submarine has suffered 4 damage, it is destroyed and the game ends. The surviving team wins the game. General advice: the key to winning is good communication. If no one talks or no one listens, all hope is lost. A good radio operator makes a big difference. Finding and tracking the enemy submarine is vital. I think in game 2, my brother was playing the radio operator, and I was playing the captain of the enemy vessel, and he found out exactly where we were, and and the other captain hit us with torpedoes easily and sank us. So yes, if you've got a good radio operator, knowing where the enemy is very effective. And then there are different maps with different scenarios or whatever. So that is Captain Sonar. Sable Phoenix says, I can see this reskinned as a space game, especially if you set it up in Glenn Cook's Starfish universe, the board game version of Passenger at Arms. Yeah, I don't understand why that hasn't been done. I mean, maybe it has. Now, obviously, this is not, because it definitely felt like a Starship game. This, like I said, if you felt like getting the license for Star Trek, you had the Star Trek board game license, reskinning this as Star Trek would be an obvious thing to do. And then, of course, I'm sure that people will be playing this at cons in their Starfleet uniforms. But I have had this one on the shelf for a long time, but not enough people to play it with. And finally, we had all 8 people, and we got it out, and we had a great time. So I do recommend it. Or if you're, like I said, at some kind of board game convention or something, and somebody's got it and you can play it, I would try that out. Sable also says, I'd actually like to see this adapted into an asymmetric combat game where the bigger, more powerful ship is stuck in real space and the other team plays the climber craft. I guess that's from the Starfish universe. The OODA loop is a powerful tool for RPGs. Cool that you got to play it. Con Sonar Crazy Ivan. That must be from that universe as well. All right, so that is Captain Sonar. I mean, really cool idea. Really cool idea. It has the simultaneous play that I like. So there's no sitting around in this game. Everybody is doing something at all times in this game. Both teams, all players. So that's also very nice. All right, well, I have got, we've been going for about an hour here. I have got things I've got to do. I got to get ready for tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody tonight, 6 o'clock on this channel, but also the Dinner and a Board Game channel. I'll be simultaneously broadcasting to both places. I got to get ready. I hope to see you tonight at 6 o'clock. Have a wonderful evening, or have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. I'll see you tonight. Be creative, be constructive, and grind on. Later.